What's up guys, welcome back to another video. In this video, I'm going to be describing the 2 breathing techniques that I use to completely get rid of my asthma and no longer have a need for the albuterol inhaler. So I don't know how many of you guys know, but when I was younger, I was really fat. And there was a couple of reasons that happened. So I had a hard time breathing. Now, being a super fan of breath work and meditation, I can't even imagine how life used to be without being able to breathe correctly. But since the age of 8, for 20 years, I had asthma. Very severe case. Twice a week, I had to do the albuterol inhaler. For those that haven't seen it, it's like a big machine you gotta wear and it plugs into this little device and you gotta put the little albuterol medicine in there, and then it takes it to the inhaler and it drips down into your lungs, and the medicine melts the bronchitis in your lungs. So it's a severe case of bronchitis, man. It was crazy. And I remember it wouldn't happen when I was, working out or playing basketball or running around. It wouldn't happen. It would happen when I'd be doing absolutely nothing. Just sitting there, trying to sleep, and then you hear it, and I start wheezing. It's very hard to breathe. So it was very frustrating because I had to focus on not dying. I had to focus on, trying to open my nasal cavities and breathing through nose. On top of that, I had a deviated septum. So it was very hard to breathe because I can't breathe through my mouth half the time, and only one nostril is open at a time. So it's very difficult to breathe. So one of my spiritual coaches about 4 years ago, he introduced me to this technique. There's 2 techniques that he actually mentioned. One was to bring my heart rate really down, and one was to increase my air capacity in my lungs. And when I implement both of those strategies, I did it for about a year, about 10 to 11 months. And I remember on the 11th month, I didn't need my inhaler for the first time in 1 month. Because remember, I used to do it 2 times a week. And it would usually be like, midweek and on the weekend, okay? And again, it would happen in random times. I remember when I first started dating my girlfriend, there were so many times where we were laying down. I'm like, all right, random inhaler time. And I had to sit there and do the inhaler. It's like a 10-minute cleansing session. And from there, it makes you really sleepy. So clears your lungs, makes you sleepy, and then you fall asleep. And then you wake up, you can breathe normally again for a little bit until you can't, right? So very frustrating. I remember as a kid, I was trying to hoop, play basketball, run around, and it's funny because I was faster than most people. I had a stamina that I can outrun most people. Even though I was a little fat kid, people would be playing basketball for like 2-3 hours. I can go for 6-7, no joke, and continue playing and just running around. But then when the asthma would hit, it would be like I had the lungs of an 80-year-old. It was very frustrating to deal with. So going through from elementary to middle, between middle and high school, it kind of died down, and then after high school, it came back very severely. Remember in college, I had to bring my inhaler. So anytime we were moving, I was moving, apartment units in college and stuff like that in my dorm, I had to bring this suitcase with me. Anytime I traveled, I remember part of my luggage, it was this big box with the inhaler. And back then, 7, 8, 9 years ago, they weren't really portable. It was a very ugly device, giant, like a handle, and I had to carry it like it's like a breathing machine. It's crazy. So very frustrating, kind of embarrassing for me. But what ended up happening is when I got into personal development, meditation and breath work became a big part of the regimen, right? It was very important to not only do breath work to meditate throughout the day to keep yourself calm and cool and collective, but it was also for my asthma, because unlike most people, now I wasn't just trying to breathe, I was trying to survive. I was trying to increase my lung capacity so I don't run out of breath just walking up the stairs. And it wasn't because I wasn't fit, it's because my lungs were not able to handle that kind of pressure. So 3.5 to 4.5 years ago, the first person, it was at an event, he introduced me to breath work. From there, I hired him to be a breath work coach. He had a little program, and he was in Houston, so we were doing this once a week. I remember we met up for like 3 months straight, once a week, and he taught me 2 methods that really changed the game for me. The first one was box breathing. So box breathing is when you force yourself to hold a breath and exhale and inhale for the same amount of time. So instead of your natural breath, what you would do is you would inhale for 4 seconds, and you would hold it in. You see right here in my nasal cavity? So the reason I tell you that is now I can do that 45 years ago, I could not do that at all. You know, I would have to breathe through my mouth, and I became a mouth breather, which led to more problems. You know, we are not taught to breathe correctly. Everyone's breathing wrong. So most people breathe through their mouth. When they fall asleep, they're breathing through their mouth. When they're falling asleep like this, they're breathing through their mouth. When in fact, your mouth should be shut and you should be breathing through your nose. Remember, conditioning forced me to breathe through my mouth because only one nasal cavity was open. So he taught me how to do box breathing, which controlled the flow of oxygen in and out my nose. But I would hold it for a couple of seconds. So inhale, 4 seconds, hold, 4 seconds, exhale, 4 seconds, and then hold empty, 4 seconds. Now, when you created this box pattern, you're regulating your lung capacity, whether you had the capacity or not. You're forcing yourself to do it, okay? So that was the first thing. He would do crazy stuff. He would make me run. Remember, at that point, I was still super fat. So he would make me run up a hill. I'm huffing and puffing, and then we would come down, sit, and do the box breath to control the flow of oxygen again, right? I had to make sure I had to get my breath under control, okay? So that was the first thing. I learned how to do this during stress. I learned how to do this when I was angry. I learned how to do this, you know, especially when I had asthma attacks. I was learning how to control my breath through my nose, through the deep breathing. The next thing that he introduced me to, we did that for about 2-3 months, and he would make me go 4 seconds, 8 seconds, run, do workouts, you know, play basketball, and we would just test my range, okay? The next thing he implemented after a few weeks was Wim Hof breathing. So Wim Hof is known as the Iceman, and he does this method where he over-oxygenates his lungs, okay? And he uses his mouth, not his nose, to fill his lungs to capacity. So it's kind of inverted breathing. So usually when people breathe, they're like, you see them sucking in, but when he breathes, he's breathing through his diaphragm, so he fills up his belly, and then when he breathes out, he pushes everything out and contracts, so all the air is completely out. So he does that about 30 times, and on the last breath, he exhales all the way out and holds his breath. Now in the beginning, believe it or not, when I first did it, I couldn't even go 20 seconds. Literally 25 seconds, I was already coughing and, you know, huffing and puffing. But now I can go, the most I've ever done is 2.5 minutes. My average is about, you know, 150 to 2 minutes. I'll try to hit 2 usually. I push myself to do it in the sauna. So I'll be doing it in the sauna after my workout, you know, stretching and meditating. I'll do this Wim Hof breath work in the sauna. So a combination of Wim Hof to over-oxygenate and to really fill my lung capacity, increase and push myself to the limit, because when you have no air, your body gets into this stress mode where you want to, your body's telling you to breathe and it's telling you to panic, but you have to hold it in. You have to, obviously, you have to dig deep, and it's a spiritual game too. So what ended up happening is between Wim Hof to do that method and then box breathing to calm it down, my lung capacity over time increased. I went from 20 seconds to 30 to 40. Next thing you know, I'm holding my breath for 2 minutes. And then I used that method in the ice bath. So I remember I got introduced to ice baths 2 years ago. And what ended up happening is the first time I did it, the guy who took me was like, slow your breath down. And I was like, I'm not able to because I'm hyperventilating right now because my body's telling me to get out of the water, right? At 35, 38 degrees, whatever. But when I started doing Wim Hof and I was over-oxygenating my body, I could not feel the cold water, right? And so I was like, okay, so what does that have to do with each other? And I started doing my, you know, my little trio, breathwork, sauna, ice bath. And I started doing it several times a week. Right now I hit the sauna every day, ice bath once a week. I love when it's cold outside at the gym and, you know, we jump in the water, but I also go to a place that has an ice plunge, and then breathwork every day, twice a day. So next thing you know, I went back to a doctor to check my lungs and check, you know, the state of my asthma. And this is like, you know, 6 months later and then 2 years later. And next thing you know, he says, there are no traces of asthma. It's almost like I've never had asthma at all. Like completely hard resetted my lungs. And now, you know, while playing basketball, while working out, while running, while doing martial arts, my lung capacity is so strong, I can hold my breath for almost 3 minutes sometimes, and I don't get tired. My stamina is great, and it's pretty crazy to see that the Western medicine before could not find a cure. Western medicine could not find a cure, and 2 simple breathwork techniques changed the game for me. So those are the 2 breathwork techniques that completely got rid of asthma, completely eliminated the need for an inhaler, and got me to a point where my lung capacity, my mind-body connections is so much more stronger, beat Western medicine, and use a simple tactic to really change the game. So comment below if you do breathwork on a daily basis, and if you do, which type. Thank you guys, hope this was helpful. See you in the next video.